Greetings. Once again, welcome to another Conversations with Ed. I'm Ed Coleman, and it's nice to have you let me into your home. And you know what I always say, now you have to call all your friends and neighbors and tell them to come on and check out Conversations with Ed, okay? So tonight, as you can see, I don't have on my suit and tie. I apologize for coming into your homes like that, but we had to do a little something today, and my wife, that lovely wife, I should say, Miss Charlene, had to do a book signing up in Fort Belvoir, and it turned out to be very good. So I rushed. I didn't even go home. I came straight here. That's how important this is to me. We have some kind of, as I say every week, something kind of interesting again. You know, if you folks that have been watching me for a while, you know that every session I do have something on about self-defense with bullying and assaults and all kinds of craziness going on out here now. I don't know. I think it's a little bit more important now. So once again, you know, I'm affiliated with the Henrico Dojo. I'm a sensei there. I'm also a student there. I'm learning more and more every day. And we put together a pretty special program, self-defense program for women, children, get rid of this bullying situation. And the gentleman that handles that, and who has been handling that for about the last 25 or 30 years here, is Shion Clarence Folks. And I just called his title wrong. He's not Shion anymore.
You're right, it's Shion.
It is Shion.
Yes, it's
okay,
Shion.
Okay. So what we're going to do, you want to use Carol as your, for the women's part?
Yes.
Yes. We're going to call, we have another private, a sneaky guest that we have in. I was going to make it a big surprise, but the person that was going to come work out with him couldn't come. And we have a lovely lady out here that we could use. And we're going to ask her to come on now. And I'll introduce her. And then we can do our self-defense thing right here. Okay?
Yes.
You stand up. Excuse me. Let the lady sit down. How you doing, Carol?
How are you, Ed? Nice to meet you.
Seems like I know you, though. I've heard so much.
do?
Yeah, good stuff, right?
Yes.
What we were doing, we're talking about bullying, as I had told you, and he had a student that was going to come and be his throw-around partner.
Yes.
Being that you know a little bit of self-defense, don't beat up the sensei on television, okay?
Okay,
And
I
then
promise.
after we do that, then we'll give you a chance to speak your piece.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good.
Just for you folks who don't know who this is, her name is Carol Adams, and she is the write-in candidate for Sheriff of Richmond.
Yes.
And we're going to get your credentials and all that when you come back up.
Okay.
Okay? So you want to go out there with the sensei? And once again, these things, you don't have much room, so that's perfect. Because when you're in these conflicts or in these situations, you don't really have much room. Sensei, you could tell me.
I'm a little skeptical because I'm going, as you say, this is not pre-planned.
Yeah. So,
And Carol is Carol.
I know. That's what I told her. Don't beat you up
what
on
we're
camera.
talking about is protecting oneself.
Okay.
So I just grab Carol. Carol would probably do what?
Okay.
No, do it like you really do it.
Okay.
Don't show it off. Don't hurt me.
This is fun.
So
Okay.
I grab her. Look. Oh!
She's already.
She's gonna do her thing.
And see, once you start this 5-hour class, you'll be able to do things like this too. Cause look how tiny she is. Okay, go ahead, show them some of it.
Sizer. Oh! Y'all see I'm not good at this.
He's playing, but it's real. He's playing. I see.
She's reacting. Okay. She's a
Tell
small
the camera.
female.
Tell the camera that what's going on.
She's a small female. But Carol is being Carol. She's protecting herself. Okay.
Tell them
So
why
if I
she.
just sneak her, oh, there it is. Y'all see the hand go? What's she gonna do? Take the knee out? Do whatever. She trapped her arm. Carol is Carol.
Well, once again, this is what our students will learn, and it's a 5 class lesson, 1 hour each class. But anyhow, it looks simple, but it's not. We're cheating because Carol has years of experience, and she
In
just
law enforcement.
in law enforcement, exactly.
Okay. So, I want to give my time to Carol.
Okay.
Okay, because this young lady has a great story to tell.
Well, let's just do a bag snatch real quick. They're trying to get a bag out of the lady's hand.
Turn around, Carol.
There you go.
I'm gonna get your pocketbook. Give me your pocketbook. Oh!
She got you again. All right. There you go. So, well, Sensei, that's good. I thank you. Okay. And all of you that are watching, you see we're having fun and laughing with it, but it's very, very serious. I think Carol is going to talk a little bit about that herself. Okay. So,
And I just want to say,
tell the camera. Tell the camera.
I just want to say, I met Carol 20-some years ago, and it was amazing. I was working security, and Carl got me to fighting. Okay. Some guy came in, he just disrespected her and took his chain and threw it on the counter. Carl says, folks, I'm not going to accept his money. He's stealing. I got the fighting in the freezer. Okay. That was Carl. She never disrespected him. She just said, you are not giving me your money. I will not accept it. Outstanding.
Okay.
What's?
Us. All right.
I want to apologize. Some of the senseis that were supposed to be coming with me, they had some stuff to come up, but life goes on.
That's right.
Take care.
All right. Now, thank you for getting in here too, Sensei. All right. Now, what you're going to do for the next couple of minutes is tell us why you want to be sheriff and why you think you should be sheriff. Okay. Go. That's right.
Well, I want to be sheriff because it's time for us to start working to change people from the inside out. And I mean that when things happen in the community, we do a lot of outreach. We go to the community to do the outreach, but the people who have been involved with these incidents are inside the jail, and we need to do the exact same kind of outreach with them.
You know something? About 8 or 9 years ago, I used to be the director for the Victims' Rights Foundation for Richmond in Southern Virginia. And I had a case, it was Christmas, right after Christmas. A woman and her 2 children, they got off the bus here in Virginia, didn't know anybody, had no place to go. And they called us, and like I said, we're second responders, not first responders. So got her situation kind of straightened out, and I worked with her and her children for about a week. And what had happened was her younger son, she wasn't with the father, but the father came over Christmas Day and raped her in front of her kids. I went to see the sheriff, and I said, Sheriff, I've been doing what I've been doing inside of your jail. I mean, what I like to do inside of your jail. Right. I've been doing that in New York for the past 20 or 30 years. I like to be able to come in and talk to your guys. And when I got in there, I broke down my credentials for them so they would listen to me. And I said, if I go out on the corner, or if the sheriff goes out on the corner, nobody's going to listen to us.
Right.
But you guys can be the new
Yes.
mentors, the new motivators, because now you're heroes.
Yes.
You come out of jail, you're a hero. You made your bones, but they'll listen to you. So we started, I'm the one that started Roots.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And what you're saying, you're absolutely right, because most of the guys that are in there are really nice people.
Right.
And just, instead of getting to that right hand, they made the left hand turn.
Right.
And I see that you're on the same page, so hopefully you'll win.
Yes, sir.
And if you do, then I'll come back and see if we can start it up again.
Absolutely.
We had over 2,400 graduates from the GED program.
Oh, wow. And see, that's the key, that we have to, do the work from the inside out, but then also we have to get to the inside of the individuals that are there. And, we have to look at it from different perspectives, because how when somebody's sentenced in court and they read their pre-sentencing report, and that pre-sentencing report should be researched before they even get to the sentencing. But that should come along with them to the jail so we can see exactly who it is that we're working with there. You know, how that person's been impacted in life with trauma, you know, vicarious trauma. You know, what's going on with this person, because when, like you said, they've been redirected and we want to get them back on the right path. So in order to do that, we have to really get at the core of who they are, and then to help them understand who they are. We can't change it, but to help them create a plan so that they can manage who they are.
You know, we were just driving back, as since they were saying, from D.C. and listening. Michael Bazin is on up there.
Yes.
Okay. And he was talking about instead of just people, you know, oh, it's so bad, I'm so sorry you did this, so and so. No, it's your fault.
Yes.
Okay, so own up to it being your fault,
yes.
and just go ahead and take care of it. You know, don't blame it on somebody else. As long as you keep making it somebody else's fault, it's going to stay your
Right.
fault. So, how you think you're doing in this campaign?
I'm doing great. As a write-in candidate, you know, people, when I say God preempted me to do this, people have an issue with that. But me being sheriff is not a new idea. I worked at the sheriff's department for 7 years before I became a police officer. And I worked very closely with Sheriff Winston and Michelle Mitchell during my time there. And so it was about 8 years ago, when Woody was running for his second term, I was driving in and I was looking at his sign and all I could see was me. And that was 8 years ago. And so it's just been on my heart. But I love what I did at the police department. You know, how you get into a groove and you really, really enjoy that. And
golden handcuffs.
Yes, well, you know, but and for me, and I always tell people, you know, when people say arrest me, I say I'm not that kind of cop, because I'm supposed to keep you from going to jail. And even if I have to arrest you, I have to tell you, I can't change what happened before you met me, but I can help you get redirected if you listen to me, you know, because I have to follow the law. So at the core of everybody is this goodness, but the hand that they've been dealt didn't allow them to pursue that. So that's what we really, really have to understand, you know, with this. And that's what, you know, God has this stirring in me. It's like, okay, now it's time for you to go back in there and for you to create some change internally for people to come out. When we talk about re-entry, it should start day one. It shouldn't start after you've been there. It should be excellent. It should be day one. When you talk adverse childhood experiences, have you ever heard of the ACE? And that's trauma informed. And so we have to, like that pre-sentencing report, if the person was abused as a child, you know, what's causing the substance abuse? What's causing, you know, is it mental health? What is at the core of the individual? So we got to get at that the first week that they're in there. And then we can work towards re-entry. But we still, like you say, what you did, you have to own up to it. But how can we get you back on track? And then also bringing in partners. I need the pastors to come because I need them to be connected to a church. I need employers to come because I need them to have a job when they leave. And I need to do all of that in an assessment to see what their skill set is. And then to help prepare them to re-enter the world. And the most important part, it is home. Just because you have an address don't mean that you're really accepted back there. And that's what happens a lot. We have an address, but when we get back, a week goes by and then it's like, you're not welcome here anymore. So then they're back in the street, back to the old ways, and we all, without safety and those immediate needs, if we don't have somewhere to sleep, we don't have food, we're gonna go back to whatever works. Yes, yeah. Okay. But I'm just, so those are the things that, you know, that's on my heart to do. And skill building inside the jail, you know, it's a new facility now. It's the opportunity for training all day long. You know, Lowe's has these do-it-yourself bricklaying, all of this stuff. It's the opportunity, like you talked about the GED program. Each and every component, each and every tier or unit should be learning or working towards some goal every day. Every day.
And you'll find out, and again, I can say it from, 50 years of experience, that's what most of them are very acceptable to, because they realize now's a chance.
Yes.
Okay, and this is something that hasn't been prevalent in institutions.
Consistency is the key.
Right.
Consistency is the key. So we have to create some consistency.
Well, you sound like you have a good foundation.
Yes, sir.
So the election is next week.
Yes, it is.
Well, we're going to give you another. Let's see. I think somebody's trying to get in. But now, how do you think the officers,
Yes.
Okay, because that's the first line.
Yes.
How do you think they feel with the new attitude?
Oh, it should be.
We have a question. Hold
Let's
on.
see. Okay.
Hey, caller, if you turn your telephone down, you might have to call back. You might have to call back, okay? Hello? Yeah, you have to call back, okay? All right.
Okay. So with the officers and the staff that work there, one of the things, the transparency and fairness is what's key. Because the way it is that you work at the will of the sheriff. So I could promote you today and demote you tomorrow. And so putting in a fair process for that to be able to happen. So if you get promoted, you've competed against other employees, so you've earned your way to that promotion. And then the process is if you do something that's against the rules, then a process to say what should happen to you. So that would be key. And also, people have been working there for years. There's still people there that worked there when I worked there, you know, and they've been putting everything into that position. And so creating an opportunity for them to come up with some ideas, because, you know, when you get buy-in and input from the people that work with you, they're more apt to do a much, much better job.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
and that's key. And with me, they're getting me. I don't have anybody that I promised any jobs to. I just want to go in there, and I want the people that's there to do the work and to let's change some lives.
Well, it sounds good. You know, obviously I can't say I'm for you
Yes,
or I'm
sir.
for
Yes,
so-and-so because I'm neutral.
Yes.
But I do like what I'm hearing. And as I said, I've had quite a bit of experience with this situation.
Yes.
And you're probably maybe the third out of about 30
Oh, wow.
that have spoken on that side and understand and can appreciate this new, you know, an addict that gets arrested for stealing some change to go get a shot, he shouldn't go to jail. He should go to a treatment facility.
Right, but still that's up to the court system
Yeah.
too. So we have to let people also know that, you know, the sheriff is responsible for the safety and security of the people inside of the facility and making sure that they receive the adequate care, you know, medical care, mental health, and things like that.
Hello, caller. Thanks for calling in. Hello.
Yes, how you doing?
So far so good. How about yourself?
Fine. I have a question for Ms. Adams. And my question is, why did she decide to be a write-in candidate? Why did she not decide to be a Democrat or Republican candidate? And why did she wait so late to throw her name into the hat?
Okay, that's good questions.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
Thanks for that call. That's a good question. Appreciate it.
Okay. Well, caller, first of all, I'm not late. November the 8th would be late.
Late, yeah. Actually, the 9th would be
The
real
9th,
late.
yes, right. So the other thing is that, like I said, like I was telling you before, Ed, this is not a new idea for me. And with weighing my time that I've served at the police department and loving my job, you know, that was a lot to say, well, you know, I'm out 4 years away from retirement from doing 25 years. So
You look like a baby.
Well, I am. So, you know, and trying to manage that and loving what I did.
What did you do at the police department?
I was responsible for community outreach, building partnerships and doing stuff in the community. And I could create any kind of program I wanted to add with all groups. So I was responsible for bridging the gap or any gap that existed between the community and the police. And I really, really love that, you know, and it doesn't matter whether I speak your language or not. I have to make sure that I understand you and I get you the adequate care that you need and help you understand that the Richmond Police Department does, you know, we're for everyone. There, you know, there are no targeted communities. And so, and that way putting together citizens academies and different opportunities for like the youth, creating youth groups. And I tell you, this summer, in the summertime, I'm responsible for a summer camp. And this year, with my summer camp, I took 63 inner city kids flying for absolutely free. And they came from Mosby, Whitcomb, Creighton Court, and places like that. We went to the Science Museum the first day, and we witnessed the solar eclipse. Then we went out to Chesterfield Airport, and I found some pilots, a piloting program, and they flew all of my babies all over the city. We fished with the game warden on the third day. on the 4th day, I had the Army Reserve come up, and we had a climbing wall. We made tie-dye shirts. And all the while, you all were talking about bullying when I came in.
Exactly.
And so, but bullying is one of the topics that we talk about with the kids. And so it's me and my staff, which are all police officers. For the week, we get to wear t-shirts and jeans and hang out with the kids and they get to do skits, and we get to hear from them what they think about bullying, and so they get to make it all up themselves.
Okay.
And so I got to do neat things like that at the police department, senior citizen programs, Faith Leaders Initiative. All of those are things that I did, and I loved it and I enjoyed it. So it really was a tug of war for me.
Uh-huh.
And my chief of police is very dedicated to the Richmond Police Department in Richmond City. So, I knew that I was a vital part of the department. But then, on the 8th, I got this thing in, that was inside. You know how you get this thing that's bugging on you?
I know a little
right?
bit about that.
And
Yeah.
so, I didn't bring my phone in here with me, but so one of my friends called me, and he was like, he calls me when he has questions about policy. So he said, well, if you sign up for 25 years and you want to leave on 20 years, what would happen? And I said, well, of course, reduce benefits. I said, but pull the policy and send it back to me, because I like to make sure that what I'm telling people is the right thing. So he sent it back to me, and it says, as long as you work for longer than 5 years, which makes you vested, and you're over the age of 50, you can retire with reduced benefits. So I'm 54. So I'm thinking, I'm trying to hang on this 4 years, which would make maybe like the difference of $60-$70 in my retirement check, right?
Yeah.
And so that's just got me stirring. So then later, a friend of mine, well, when you see police officers working off duty and standing around places. So my friend was supposed to work the church, Providence Park Church, and they haven't heard this yet. But so he said, Carol, can you work for me? And I said, sure, John, I'll go to work for you. So while I'm standing and waiting for them to do the offering in this room, they have all sorts of literature on the table, breast cancer awareness and all that stuff. And the table is usually filled with stuff, right? This Sunday, I'm not supposed to be there. There are only 2 pieces of paper on that desk. And so one of them is a coloring book that says, Your Friend the Sheriff. And it has a black woman standing there with her sheriff hat on, her white shirt, and she's talking to kids in the community.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm like, no. It's like, God, no, right? So I got it. I took the book out to the car, and I'm sitting there, and like when I'm into me, I'm just holding me. And this is what I do. And so I'm like, whew. So I called this friend of mine. I said, man, I got to talk to you. And he said, well, what's wrong, Carol? And I said, I always wanted to run for sheriff, but it's too late now. I said, but this is what I found today at the church. And so he says, well, do it. And I said, well, I can't, because the primary is all over. So I went on home, and I'm thinking, okay, that's that. The primary is over. So God is like, no, you are a researcher. You got to get to work. So I researched in the right end, right? You get the right end.
Yes.
So, and you don't have to, and I'm looking for for the law. You don't have to file any paperwork. You just let people know that you're going to participate in the race. And then, the historical context of how the write-in came into place in the first place, and how often it's done. In each and every election, there are write-in names.
Okay.
And so, because you have that extra box. So if you go to the, like
we're telling you can write
right,
a name.
yes, you can write a name. And in one city, they write in this panda's name or something like that. In one city.
In the panda one?
Yes. But, and so I'm like, goodness gracious, Lord, because I'm just trying to push it off. And so I couldn't settle that night. I researched it. And so the next morning, I'm still with this thing right here. So I called my boss, and I said, listen, there's something that I got to do, because I'm obedient to the Lord. I have to be obedient. And I said, and he won't let this thing go. And before I tell him, I said, listen, I have to participate in this upcoming election as a write-in candidate. And, I need your blessing, but I got to go with it. And so he said, well, okay, Carol, go with it, And so then initially I thought that I could take a leave of absence, but because I'm a classified employee, I had to completely retire, which, and they thought that was going to make a difference when they said, well, you have to retire. I was like, okay. Because I know.
Now, when you get that pack, and you definitely have to follow.
And it's all there, and I've been, and it's just like this. It's been just like this. I'm in the same the entire time, and and most people are stressing. Well, what are you gonna do? I'm not not stressing because this is about the Lord. This is a win-win for me, and this is that push that he was pushing me out to do whatever it is that he had me to do. I have the credentials, the capability, and the wherewithal to be the sheriff of Richmond. And to run the facility and to partner with the community, because it's about us partnering together, bridging the gap between the police and the sheriff's department. The police chief and the sheriff should be always just like that. It should not be a division. The officers and the deputies should be just like that. Yeah. And so when we talk about being late, it's not late. November the 9th would have been late. But this is a part of the democratic process that most people are not familiar with and have not been familiar with. But I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't done anything outlandish. And I'm not attached to a party because the parties had already attached themselves to the candidates that were on the ballot. And therefore, I'm independent and I'm going with it. You know, and people that know me, know my character, write me in.
Hello, caller.
I have a comment. I'd like to have a conversation with Carl Adams, please, for a minute.
Go right ahead. Speak up.
Hi, Ms. Adams. I must tell you that I'm greatly impressed by your enthusiasm and your knowledge, and I think that you could win. I didn't think you had a chance in anything at the beginning, but some of us, I don't live in Richmond, unfortunately and unfortunately, but I don't know how well your campaign is organized, but I know traditionally people in Richmond do not vote. So is there somewhere that you can, if somebody like myself wants to get in contact with you, can you give a number out on the air so people can call you?
Yes, ma'am. My telephone. Yes, ma'am. My telephone number is 804 218 2866.
Okay, I would like you to do that about 5 more times before you finish, okay?
Okay, yes, ma'am.
And Ed knows my numbers, and I do have some good advice for you, but I don't want to give it on the air, okay?
Okay, that would be great. That would be great. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Keep up your enthusiasm, because enthusiasm wins and enthusiasm sells, and that's what we need in Richmond. Somebody, an enthusiastic police chief.
Thank you.
That's good. Thank you, caller.
Thank you very much. Take care now.
You too, dear.
Okay. Thank you, caller. Right. So, keep on talking. Okay.
So, you know, the goal is for it to be a community process, because our jail sits in the middle of the city, and it's like it's isolated, right? But people are consistently going there. But that's...
Hello, caller?
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm fine.
Okay. You have a question for us?
Well, I have a comment for this about Carl Adams.
Yeah.
Well, Carl knows who this is. This is Bishop West or Coach West.
Yes, sir.
Bishop West.
If there was anybody, Adams, I did not know you were doing, but I also knew God had a calling on your life. I've never seen anybody like you. You've been in the community with me and kids that nobody wanted to deal with. You did workshops with me and those kids on the street at U-Turn. Been over Bellmead Community Center with kids that nobody would have anything to do with. You put your foot right in there. You help our kids get basketball, so nobody should even help us. Help us get down to Washington, D.C., to Ground Zero and everything else. You put your foot in there in the community. And if anybody can work in this community for what is right with law and order and working with the community, you a person can do it. You're not just there because it's a job.
No, sir.
I found that about you a long time ago. You were there because you really cared.
It sounds like you have a campaign manager.
Yes, sir. It's always good to hear from you, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll always have me and many kids that can support for you. So we can change some things around with the youth in this city too, because you are a dedicated person.
That's good.
Thank you.
And I'm praying for you.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that call and that endorsement. That's pretty good.
Yes,
appreciate that.
Yes.
Now, and how many are you going to go? You got a week now.
Yes.
What is your plan for the next week?
Okay, my plan is to continue to get out to the neighborhoods and communities, walking and talking with individuals, and to promote people and to educate people. And I'm looking at this campaign just like when President Obama was running. You know, people are getting involved that usually wouldn't get involved, but they're learning. You know, and every day, Ed, we supposed to learn something new.
Yes,
and
sir.
so, like she said, well, she didn't think I had a chance when it first came about. It's like, but my campaign is totally different because, like Bishop West says, I've been working in the city for the last 27 years.
Yeah.
So I've been working with the community. So I didn't have to take time to get out and get to know the community and the community to know me for this process.
They know you.
They already know me.
Yeah.
And that's what's important. They know my work ethic. They trust me, and I have relationships. And I've learned in this city, there have been a lot of people who have betrayed the citizens. And throughout my work, I've always made sure that the priority is the people that I work for. That when I talk to people, I tell them I took an oath to protect the citizens of Richmond. And I would tell them I took an oath to protect the citizens of Richmond, not the police department, not the police officers, to the citizens. And that's where my loyalty is.
That's
nice. And that's the bottom line. And everybody knows me, you know, making a decision is easy. There are only two options. No, there's only one option. You have two choices, but one option. And that's what's right.
Very well said. Okay. Well, listen, this is it's been a very interesting conversation because, again, I didn't know, you know. So I said, you know what? Let me see. Let's get on and see what she's got to talk about. And I'm very happy that we did because you have a lot to talk about.
Yes, sir.
And you bring a lot to the table. And I'll say it again: when you are elected,
yes.
If you want some more help.
Yes, sir. But I want to see you there. Okay. And that's what's key: knowing who your partners are, and knowing the historical background of partners. You know, and so because I've been in the city, my relationships with the pastors, my relationships with the nonprofits, my relationship with the businesses, we have long-standing relationships, and that's what's key. That's what's key.
Now the secret's going to be to get them out to make sure they get out to vote. But I think that this is, you know, what do you think is going on here in Richmond with all of these shootings and everything?
Okay, well, when we look at crime, we see a lot in the news. We see the shootings. So and it goes back to that trauma. You know, I hurt you, you hurt me. But if you're living in a neighborhood where there's consistent violence all the time, communication, conflict resolution, all of those things are things that need to be taught because they learn behavior. You know, we don't talk about things anymore. We just fight. Or we just get a gun and we shoot somebody. So we have to go back to that core. We need to go back to the village. Remember the village?
Yeah,
where everybody was accountable. And it was all inclusive. But now we have our communities living in silos. And so we have these young people, you know, with all of this conflict from community to community. And at first it used to just be the boys, but now it's the girls.
And I cannot get how these young girls think that it's okay to get beat up.
Right, and to beat each other up and to fight.
Yeah.
You know, and so, but that goes back to that conflict resolution. That goes back to self-esteem. It goes back to learned behavior. How do we don't talk things out anymore. It's just consistent chaos and conflict.
Well, you know, I was talking to my daughter about this, Tanya, and she said, you know what it is? It's they've been desensitized.
Yes,
okay,
yes, and
with
violence,
all of the games, the computer games, the movies, everything you see, they become used to it.
Right, and I'm glad you brought that up. And so one thing we don't, as a people, we don't protect ourselves anymore, and we don't protect our children. Because just like when something horrible happens on the news, 9/11 is just always here, and we watch it, but we watch it over and over, and that goes back to that desensitization. So when we see violent things that happen and we watch it, we bring our kids to watch it. When there's a crime scene, we got our kids out watching, and that's, like you said, desensitization. So when you're numb to that, so that's not out of the ordinary. So we have to understand that everything we expose our body to is absorbed in our body. You know, with the food, the music, the air, everything.
We were just riding back, as I said twice already, from D.C. and Michael Bazin is on it. I love Michael Bazin, right? But I can't get into this music that's happening now. And we're listening to the songs, and I said, wait a minute, this is my wife. Did you hear what he just said?
Right, but because, and the other thing is that we as a community, because remember back in the other day, Big Mama won't having that.
No,
you can't
good.
listen to it, you can't, and they made music, they made a lot of vulgar stuff, but you didn't hear it until you were grown
And
enough
and you didn't know it.
Right,
The way that they
yeah,
said it.
yes,
When
right, but
Chuck
we
Berry talking about Tutti Frutti.
right, yes. but that's the thing is that we don't have any shades. Everybody's growing old together. There's no. Remember when we were raised, you weren't in the room when the grown people were talking.
No, that's it.
And you didn't talk when they talked if you were in the room. So we've gotten away from all of those old practices, and that's why our babies are suffering so much because we don't have any rules. And I tell you, I was coming out of police headquarters this summer, and young guys were walking down the street. It looked like they had worked all day in construction work, but one had his pants hanging down.
Yeah.
And I said, oh man, I said, wait right there. He said, yes ma'am. I said, I just love them underwear, man. And right away he pulled them up. So I didn't have to say, pull your pants up. I just made a gesture and started a conversation with him. And he knew that he wanted to pull them up right away. So we have to stop not saying anything. We have to say things, but we have to find the right way to say things.
I'm laughing because we told this, and I won't call the school, but they said, give us 25 of your worst students, all right? And we're going to train them, and we're going to turn them around and make them A or B students, right? So I go into the classroom, and the guys are sitting there, again, like you said, pants are sitting down all the way down here, and the girls, nice looking girls, carrying themselves like ladies, actually. And I'm looking, so I introduced myself, I gave them a little background, from Green Beret, so let them know, don't mess with me, right? But by the same token, I said, now, it's funny, I said, I do volunteer work at the Richmond City Jail, and in jail, when you walk around with your pants wearing like that, it means that you're making yourself available. So I walked in here and I see all of you, and I was wondering which one I'm supposed to have sex with first, and they all jumped up and they started pulling up their pants.
Right. But not knowing the history, and everything is historical context. You have to understand where this trend came from.
Right out of jail.
Yes, our babies are just they're doing what they see other people do. And as parents, we have to be responsible, and we have to explain things to them. And my daughters tell me all the time, they say, Mama, you just old-fashioned. I said, yes, I am, and I love that. But I had to explain to them that I'm your mother. I'm not your friend. Yeah. When you have something you want to share with your friends and you want them to agree with you and it's not such a good thing, call them. Don't call me, because I'm your mother. And I can only be your mother.
Well, yeah, I see that. This is going to be very interesting. I am going to try to get your competition on.
Okay.
Sometime, it's only, like I said, the election's next year. It's too late. Yeah. Well, we'll have the winner on.
Okay, that'll be fine. I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Well, listen, this is we're 20 minutes from the countdown. And this is an opportunity to give you a speech or whatever it is that you want to say to the community. Use the time for what's there. This is your time.
Okay, well, community, I consider myself the people's choice. During elections, there are always people listed on the ballot. And this particular time, you can write in your option. You can write in my name, Carol Adams, and check that box. When you get to the sheriff candidates, you'll see 3 names listed there, and mine isn't. And if you select me, check the box and write my name. But I don't want you to just vote for me because I'm sitting here on Ed's show asking you to. I want you to do your research. Before you make any decision, you should research it. It's just like buying a car or going to the grocery store or choosing from a menu. You need to do some research and evaluate all the candidates and see which candidate that you feel would do the best job at that facility and in the position of sheriff, and make your selection from there. Not just because I'm here, I'm asking you to, but do it the right way, because I want to be the choice of the people, because I want to work for the people. And I'm gonna always work for the people. And so on November the 7th, and tell all your friends,
Go to my Facebook page, elect Carol Adams for sheriff. You can see some of the things that I've done. I've been to the White House. I've spoken there. I did a TED Talk. I've been in training police officers in places like the Virgin Islands, but throughout the United States. I'm a public speaker. A couple of weeks ago, I was at the National Women's Museum of Fine Arts in Washington, D.C., and I do a lot of caring for the community, but I do have a background of law enforcement experience with working with the Department of Justice and other entities, International Association of Chiefs of Police. I'm a member of the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. So I do have a significant background. I have a bachelor's degree in human resource management from the University of Richmond. So just do your research and then make your selection from there. And again, my name's Carol Adams. And if you choose to vote for me, my name will not be listed there when it comes down to Richmond City Sheriff. You'll see 3 names. And if you select me, that 4th box, you check that box and write my name.
Very well said. Very well said.
Thank you, Ed.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm going to change one thing that you said that, you know, like you went to grocery. Oh, okay. Oh.
No, you said grocery.
Hello.
Okay, I want to know the first 3 things that she's going to do when she wins, after she wins.
Okay.
First big major thing.
Okay, the first major thing is I'm going to create the first major thing is to create a K-9 unit to provide safety and security for the jail itself, because we have drugs getting inside of the jail and people and overdoses are occurring. So that's one of the primary things that has to be done right away. And then I have to take my time and do an assessment of all of the programs there and to see what the historical success has been, and then start to put other programs in place. But I'm also going to implement a fairness process when it comes down to promoting the employees into positions, because by appointment on my authority only, that's not fair. So it needs to be a fair process in place. And the third thing is to create the opportunity for everyday learning. The facility is brand new, so we should have the capability without having to hire extra people to come in to teach these classes that I'm talking about. But with technology, we should be able to provide education for every tier there is inside that facility.
Absolutely.
So those are the first 3 things that I will focus on when I'm elected.
Oh, they're very good things. And I'm going to go back to what I was starting to say. You were saying this, you know, make a decision like you're going for groceries. Actually, think about, you have a disease.
Yes.
And you want to be the doctor, because there's a disease in Richmond and most of the largest cities, you know, with our community, with the new melting pot, with all the new folks coming in. And so, you know, I'm from Brooklyn, and I mean, I've seen quite a bit. I mean, I've gone into my grocery store. As I'm opening the door, the guy's getting blown out of the door.
Wow.
So I open the door, and the shotgun goes off, and the guy comes flying out of the door like I opened the door for him.
Yes.
Okay? When I heard the thing the other week about the guy walking in and purposely, not an accident, not a ricochet, not a missed shot, shooting a 1-year-old baby. What kind of person is that would do something like that? That's a person with no feelings at all.
And that goes back to nurture versus nature, Ed, because if you haven't been nurtured, you don't have nurturing capacity. So that means that caring piece, right?
Yeah.
And think about if you had a pet poodle and you decided you didn't want the poodle anymore. You've been taking him to get manicured and taking care of him, and you decide, or let's say something happens to you and you can't take care of it and you give it to somebody else to take care of, and they decide to just put the poodle outside. So that poodle has to scramble for himself. That poodle has to fight to get food that was normally provided for him. So we got to think about, we do have some children that are in the street and they're raising themselves in the street. So when we think about that capacity as to the value of a life, but if you haven't been loved and nurtured and the person who gave you life hasn't nurtured you, you don't have that. So that's what we have to be understanding, purposely understanding. And so therefore we have unrealistic expectations of people because we're viewing them based on our perception or how we were raised. So there's some different viewpoints here, okay? So there's a viewpoint from the first floor
in a viewpoint from the 5th floor. And the people living on the 1st floor got a totally different environment versus the people on the 5th floor, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we have to look at when we talk about that. Because think about some individuals in some neighborhoods may not even think that they're going to live past 18.
Yes, I've heard that quite a few times.
Right.
Yeah.
So that goes back to that nurture versus nature. If you haven't been nurtured and loved by the people who created you, and you've been abused and mistreated, so then you got to think about what's at your heart and what's at your mind. And so that's what we have to look at when we see things like that happen. I did crime scene work for 7.5 years.
That's tough.
So I've seen bodies in every way, shape, and form.
Yeah,
And this
tough.
was back in the early 90s when it was
Number
same things
one,
was going
on,
on,
yeah.
just like now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm on one block, go around the corner, 3 dead bodies laying in the street, or I get down the street, there's 2 in the car, and so this mindset, that's and it's trendy. Right? Because it goes in a cycle.
Yeah.
But we have to think about that when we think about how could that person have done that. And so we know everybody's human, but everybody's not raised the same way, and everybody's not nurtured. And so
Now, would a person that's listening to you talk like you ought think that you might be too easy on the
no, it's accepting the reality
Yeah,
of the person.
it's
And it's
quick.
not about me being easy on them, but it's that me understanding that through my training, through my knowledge, and through my research, it doesn't excuse what they've done by no means whatsoever. And that goes back still to that pre-sentencing report. Okay? So that pre-sentencing report is the historical background on this person. And so that's not to excuse what they've done, but it allows you to have some insight as to how they would have made and why they would have made these decisions. And nobody would want to hurt a baby like that. So what was happening in that mix for that baby's life to be lost? Does that make sense?
And then what you're saying makes a whole lot of sense. And I mean, like I said, I'm talking about
living with it,
seeing things.
Right, and living with that. And most people that know me know that my father murdered my mother when I was 17, and I was in the next room. So I understand the system. I understand from all perspectives, because I'm standing in the next room, and I'm sitting in the next room, and I hear these 5 gunshots, and my mother is gone, and this year will be 37 years. But when he was sentenced, he only received 7 years with 5 years suspended. So he was afforded a plea bargain because my mother did not have a voice. And that's a part of my energy. That's a part of me being an advocate, because, I know what the system does and does not do, because 18 months or 24 months, 18 months with good behavior, but this is my mother's life, 24 months. And so, and that's again how God made me become a part of this criminal justice system, because, I had to wear those clothes to make people listen and understand, you could be on both sides of the tape. And that's why I have an affinity to the people on the other side of the tape. Okay. And so, and not to excuse any behavior, because even like with my father, he went to jail, but he wasn't remorseful, and he didn't change when he came out. So I understand from my own personal family's story what it is like for the individual to go and you to have expectations that they've changed. But if there hasn't been anything in the system to implement change on that person, because you worked inside, unless you want to change, you won't change.
That's it. You got it.
So no, not being easy on anyone, but it's understanding, and not just through academia, but through life experience and my education.
That's the key right there, because I do a lot of public speaking, and I always say, I'm the one bringing the bad news, the stuff that you don't want to hear. And I talked to him, and I did this at, I don't even know how many churches and whatnot. Like I said, my wife's an author, so I let her do the good part about her books and the happiness. I said, I'm going to do the bad part. And I talked about sexual assault, what goes on behind closed doors, and how you think that's a favorite uncle, but you got to this, that, and the other, and learn how to talk to people. The key to me is always expression. Express what you feel. Say how you feel, not in a tantrum, not in you don't know what I've been through. talk about it. My wife did a book, Welcome Home Veteran, and one of the chapters says, find somebody to talk to who wants to listen.
Right. Right. And that you feel comfortable sharing with
Right.
also, because when you think about especially information that's really near and dear to your heart, you know, you want to share in a safe space and with someone who that you can confide in. So, and that's what's key. But, you know, when we talk about life, it's like there's theory, there's academia, and then there's life experiences. And you need all of that, not just different pieces, but you need all of that.
Okay, seems like if we get you to be sheriff, you're going to be a pretty good sheriff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Look, my mother's been gone for 37 years, and she was so hard on me. Every decision I make, it's got to be in her liking. So everything I do is got to be according to her rules.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that. 'Cause, you know, my mom and dad been gone for years, and I was always counted as the kid that wouldn't listen. Mm-hmm. He won't listen to you, but don't worry about him. He'll be all right. Mm-hmm. That's what my mother used to say. Don't worry about him. He'll be all right. He knows. And I went in the Army when I was 17 years old and signed up for it. My godfather bet me $50 I couldn't make it through jump school. He said, you little punk, you can't make it through jump school. So when I went to recruit, I said, what's the toughest airborne outfit? He said, 101st Airborne. I said, sign me up. He said, you want to sign up for that? I said, yeah, I did. I want to sign up for that. I want to be the best.
Right. And that's what life is. You know, that's the only way to live. And when people look at me, I'm 5'5" and I weigh about 99 pounds.
But you know how to handle yourself.
Yes.
I'm sensei also. I know. I saw you do your thing there. So I appreciate the parents for picking us up and doing it. And I made a promise to you. If you are the winner,
yes,
okay,
sir.
This is not an endorsement, okay? We're not allowed to do that. But if you do win, then I'd be more than happy to help you out.
Yes, sir. I need it. You know, it's going to take everyone, and this is a community effort. And that way, when we create a community advisory board, and so we're working on it together, and it is truly a team effort. The community should be involved because the citizens are from the community, and we want them to be better people when they leave. We want them to be more equipped to be able to have a successful lifestyle. You know, everybody wants to take care of their family. Everybody wants to go to work. Everybody wants to have nice things, and so this is what we need to do while we have them there, is to be able to create the opportunities for that to happen.
Well, that's the whole initial idea before they started making it such a big business. You were supposed to, if you were locked up, go in for rehabilitation, learn another skill or learn a skill, finish school, all of that. Now it's big business, and they're just snatching these youngsters up and sending them to these jails so the folks that be can keep their dollars coming in. You know, when you look on the stock market and you see prisons, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. So you're betting on the downfall of the community.
Yes.
You know, so, but I don't know. Well, this has been great, folks. Again, this was not meant to be a promotion for this young lady. I do have to be honest and say that I really did appreciate and understand what she had to say, especially when she said that God is pointing her in this direction, because I'm a Christian also. I go to St. Paul. Listen to me, St. Paul's. my pastor's going to kill me. Pastor Yancey, First Union Baptist Church, Mechanicsville. Okay. And if we were in Richmond, I would ask you to come there and speak. Okay. But we're in Henrico. I don't think we can help you. No, actually Hanover. Don't think we can help you too much over there, but maybe they know somebody. So all you folks that are looking from First Union or from whoever's looking, if you know people in Richmond, you give them a call and you tell them you just heard Miss Adams speak, and she had an awful lot to say.
Yes, and just tell them to research me, and when they go to the polls on November the 7th, to write my name in and check the box.
That's very good. That's very good. Okay, what we're going to do, we're on countdown. Next week, we're going to be celebrating the after election. We'll have winners, and we'll be able to talk about how well everybody did. I haven't chosen who I'm going to have on next week, and maybe I'll surprise you with something else, because this was a very pleasant surprise. And I thank you folks who have been watching. I did not mention my veterans today. Guys, come on now, the year's almost up. If you're trying to get a new home, or if you want to get a new home, if you want to get the medical, if you want to get some rehab money, you didn't go and get your disability when you were supposed to. Any of those things you don't remember when you sign those papers for the United States Army saying that you're willing to give your life for the United States. That same piece of paper said that the United States would take care of you for the rest of your life. So, come on, if you got any kind of illness or anything like that, get over to McGuire VA Hospital, one of the top 10 hospitals in the United States, okay? Did the first heart transplant for the military was at McGuire VA Hospital. They just built a brand new coronary unit and a trauma unit, which is very important. They just put a whole brand new wing on for a trauma unit. So when the guys come back with traumatic injuries, meaning loss of limbs, loss of arms, all kinds of things, they come from Afghanistan, they come into Germany, from Germany they come into Delaware, from Delaware, Bethesda, and from Bethesda they come right here, down to here. So get out there and get it, it's yours. And as I said before, I'll help you as much as I can. And we have a whole committee at our church, once again, Veterans Committee. And with Veterans Day coming up, you might want to get some of these answered, okay? Hello, caller.
Yes. I have a question. For everything that's going on with the presidential elections and the indictments, what's your feeling on that?
I think Trump should be in jail. That's simple enough. Did you want me to get into that any deeper? Or he hung up? I didn't mean for you to hung up. I was answering the question for you, and I think, in fact, I don't see how Trump ran for how he was allowed to. It seems like we should have, at this point in our country's history, we should have some type of credentials, or qualification list, or something that you have to be in order to be president. You can't be a New York street hustler, and that's what Trump is. And he's making us, the United States, look like fools, and he's not being fair to the people that he's taking care of or treating. And what do you think about that? I don't want to put you on the spot because you're running for a position, but so you don't have to say anything unless you want to. I got you. Okay. All right. So be sure to tell your friends, everybody. I think this is a very, very, very good meeting that we're having here, and I'd like to see a lot more of that.
Yes,
okay.
Yes,
and folks, don't forget. Don't sit on your hands. Don't sit in your house. Go out and vote. This is, again, one of the most important elections, not just for us here, for the United States.
Right, and you can't change the process unless you become a part of the process.
Yes,
so
indeed.
you have to fully participate in the process in order to implement change.
All right, there you go. So you heard it, and you saw it here first, okay? Let's get busy on next Tuesday and get the right folks in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Here's Bobby Boyd taking us out. He brings us in, he takes us out. Go ahead, put him on.